Hello, Leeds fans. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. We're not in the studio. Oh no, I hear you cry. Apologies. We've come back to see mother and father, and unfortunately, I cannot bring the studio with me. Check on over to the Patreon, everybody. We've got bonus content there. We should have something uploaded there today as well if you want your extra podcasts. Shout out, we had 5 new members over the weekend. Definitely well worth it. Everybody tells you. And do you know why? Because the retention rate on there is fantastic, and all we get is new members, not people leaving. So make sure you check on out the Patreon. Make sure I hear everybody cry. Conor, what do you do with the YouTube memberships? Well, join in the section below. Make sure you do that, everybody. And you've already got your Chelsea Leeds preview up on SofaScore as well. SofaScore is the best app when it comes to updates, Leeds United updates. You can check your Leeds United news, your Leeds United scores, your momentum bars, player profiles, any analysis you want. Check out SofaScore, link in the description below. Okay, stop waffling, Conor. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about a few bits, and let's get into to sort of the ecosystem at Leeds United at this moment in time. Various sources are reporting this morning that allegedly Jack Harrison is wanting to stay in the Premier League no matter what. So this source is stating that if Everton were to go down, Jack Harrison wants to move. But if Everton are to stay in the Premier League, he is more than happy, whatever situation happens, even if Leeds are to get promoted, for him to remain at the Toffees. Now, Jack has played 22 times for Everton this season, has scored 3 goals and has got 2 assists, which literally backs up my consistent point with Jack Harrison that he is hot and cold, and always was hot and cold. And Leeds fans will get very upset at me for saying that, but the proof is in the pudding. Wherever he has been in his career, he has been inconsistent. So I think, what we're looking at right now with the dimension of this Premier League side and this potential Premier League side and Leeds United and the players that may have to move on, if we do get to the Premier League, the players that are going to come back but then need to move on, we're looking at Marc Roca. Might do a job in the Premier League, but no, in a different system. But listen, we're going to be selling Marc Roca. Apparently, Real Betis have pretty much got that sealed up. Christensen will be coming back. Diego Llorente is going to be signing for Roma. Brendan Aaronson is going to be coming back. I know, everybody. I know it's horrendous. Obviously, Rodrigo did go. But I think there's going to be players, average players, below average players that are going to have to come back to the club, and Leeds just have to figure out what to do with them. Brendan Aaronson is not going to go for any sort of value. Union Berlin, according to multiple sources over the weekend, are not going to be engaging in that transfer. Then you've got Rasmus Christensen as well. Whatever club he's been at is just Mr. Average, and you maybe got Archie Gray in there. If we are to go to the Premier League, will Conor Roberts become a signing for Leeds? And then, Conor Roberts is levels ahead of Rasmus Christensen. Rasmus Christensen, in my opinion, is one of the worst football players I've ever seen at this club. And I've seen this club in League One. I've had a season ticket in League One. That lad has got the best agent in world football. It's staggering. Honestly, it really, really is, in my opinion. But so you're expecting Christensen, you're expecting Aaronson to come back to the club, and Leeds have just got to figure out, even if we're in the Championship, we've got to figure out what to do with them next season. Now, is it going to be as bad if they're within a Championship setup with Leeds United? No, I don't think it is, because you got 2 bench options there. The level is obviously a much lesser, as we know, in the Championship than what it would be in the Premier League. So maybe they wouldn't be as fish out of water as they were in the Premier League, or as they have been in the Bundesliga and Serie A. Maybe it'll look a little bit different, but I do doubt that. I think Brendan Aaronson would struggle massively in the Championship. Rasmus Christensen, you see right backs in this division who are still very, very capable, and you put him right now, Rasmus Christensen, up against Archie Gray. I mean, what are we talking about here? The guy is stiff. He get beaten in the air by 4-foot men in the Premier League. The guy is just nowhere near it. I don't think even at Championship level. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see this ecosystem and what Leeds do with your likes of Aaronson and Llorente. So I do still think, and we've heard this many times this season from Berlin's side, that Brendan Aaronson still sees himself as a top-level player. So I don't know what level this is that he thinks he can play at. He's been a flop at Berlin. Maybe he needs to go out to Austria. I don't know. But then they're going to have to stump up some fee for him. Are Leeds going to be able to make back the money? Are Leeds going to be able to, if they get to the Premier League, make even 15 million back on this guy to say he's our record transfer at 33 million quid? What do you guys think? Let me know in the section below. I don't think he will. You know, I don't think we're going to be able to recoup sort of any decent value for Brendan Aaronson. And if they are, it's probably going to be another loan to buy, and there's going to be obligations in there and clauses, which mean that Leeds don't reap the rewards. It has just been the most expensive signing the club has ever made, and the most horrendous signing the club has ever made. So the point here, everybody, is to discuss this ecosystem of these players coming back. Would they work in the Championship? Would they work in the Premier League? But Jack Harrison, according to multiple sources this morning, has said that he wants to stay in the Premier League no matter what. Now, for me, if Everton are to exercise a 20 million quid clause, which apparently Jack has got in his contract if he remains in the Premier League, I would be over the moon with that. I do wonder what side he fits into in the Premier League apart from Everton. I think the Dyche system, almost 4-4-2, out-and-out wingers, is quite unique. You know, it's you know, what Dyche likes to play with is a front two as well, a front two who little and large, and we've seen that at Burnley, we've seen that at Everton. He's been able to make it a little bit more fluid at Everton, but there's an argument this season, influence-wise, Dwight McNeil has been arguably better than Jack Harrison. So, you know, the question is, what teams in this ecosystem that we're going to be talking about at this moment in time, in the ecosystem right now, Premier League teams go for Jack Harrison? Because we know it's going to be 20 million and above, whatever the outcome. Is it going to be a Luton if they remain in the Premier League? Potentially. I see that as an option. And there is obviously, you know, a likelihood that Luton might stay in the Premier League. Sheffield United, but they are not going to be in the Premier League next season. And Burnley don't really tend to play with the Jack Harrison-esque player. So you do look at the options that Brendan Aaronson has across Europe. Is it going to have to be Austria? Is it going to have to be going back to the States for a decent fee? Are there going to be any Bundesliga sides who are going to go in for him? Is there maybe going to be a Serie A club that's going to go in for him? Because he's not going to be working in the Premier League. He's probably not going to work in the Championship, but he does obviously want to play for the United States, which means that he's going to have to be playing some sort of top-level football, as we know. So I wonder how it's going to work in the summer with these people. I think Jack Harrison is someone who is he a Premier League player? Probably on the verge of being a Premier League player, but I don't see what other system he gets in. You know, even just the bottom tier clubs. Is he good enough for West Ham? Not in my opinion. Is he good enough for Crystal Palace? Probably not. They've probably got better wingers than Jack Harrison, and you feel like the Dyche way at Everton will suit Jack down to a T. You wonder if Dyche is to go at any point, if Everton would even go in for him again. But it's interesting that we figured out this morning that if Everton were to go down, suddenly Jack doesn't want to go to Everton. Jack wants to stay in the Premier League. So we're looking at a scenario here where if Leeds get promoted and Everton go down, Jack would want to stay at Leeds. You know, he'd probably, and it leaves a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. Just hopefully he's going to be on the bench, and that's going to be that. And, you know, fine, mate, no problem. So, fascinating things developing this morning when it comes to the ecosystem at Leeds. Obviously, Brendan Aaronson wants to remain at the top level, but Union Berlin don't want him. Jack Harrison wants to remain at the top level, but doesn't want to remain at Everton if they're not at the top level, and doesn't want to be at Leeds if they're not in the top level. At the top level, I should say. So it's all very, very funny how this ecosystem... I'm really interested to see your guys' thoughts on what you would do with some of these players. Jack Harrison, Christensen, Brendan Aaronson. It's all very, very interesting. More reports this morning stating that there are top clubs looking at Crescencio Summerville, top clubs around Europe as well, looking at Willian Yonto, and obviously Archie Gray is piquing the interest of Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester United have been thrown into the ringer this morning, and obviously Man City. So I just think what you saw with Archie Gray the other night was just nothing short of phenomenal. But listen, we're going to get into your FA Cup preview tomorrow. But I just absolutely love where this side's going. And I just hope that, you know, because the likelihood is we lose to Chelsea, right? The likelihood is we lose them. But they've played pretty recently. And you do think to yourself, is this a scenario with Chelsea where they're not taking this one too seriously? I just don't want this winning run to come to an end. I just don't want it to come to an end. And even if this winning run does come to an end, I hope we're able to bounce back on against Huddersfield, which is a massive game, and then Stoke City. These are big games because a lot of these teams, Wednesday coming up as well. They've had a little bit of a shot in the arse recently with obviously Danny Rawl, who's doing an okay job at Wednesday. They won at the weekend, didn't they? Huddersfield won at Watford, which was a really good win with their new manager. A bit of a new manager bounce there. So you're just hoping that Leeds, if they are to lose to Chelsea, can get back on the horse immediately. Guys, let me know what you think to the ecosystem at this moment in time. Transfers in, transfers out. What would you do with Jack Harrison, Brendan Aaronson and Rasmus Christensen? And also, what are your thoughts on Crescencio Summerville attracting big level interest? If we're to get to the Premier League, is he going to move on anyway, or will he stay at Leeds United? And of course, Archie Gray. Let me know in the comment section below how long you think he's going to be a Leeds United player. Like, comment, and subscribe, everybody. We'll be back at Studio HQ tomorrow. Don't you worry about it. Leeds, Chelsea coming around the corner. We'll have the preview out for you then. Check on over to the Patreon account. Become a member if you're not already. It's well worth it, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see you in a bit.